Well, Sam, as we jump into this, I brought this up, Mike Zimmer. Well, one, let's go back to, I'm not going to say her name, but there was an Instagram model, I guess you want to call her, that was rumored to have been around Mike Zimmer. I've seen a lot of people mention different venues they might have seen her with him. I've heard different people say, "Hey, I've seen her bring him up." She actually did bring him up in a tweet, I think it was, or Instagram story message. And she mentioned the fact that, like, in the turmoil time of not knowing who was going to be the next coach, if Zimmer was going to stay, if Spielman was going to get fired, that allegedly Zimmer had reached out to Spielman and crickets, where Spielman wasn't really responding to him and giving him not to say the Heisman, but maybe like canned answers, like, "Oh yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm busy with the family." But then I had Rick's son, Ronnie Spielman, on my show for my radio show. And so he brought up that, like, days before, Rick had warned the family, "Hey, be prepared for this. It's probably going to happen. We're going to get fired." And so with that said, the fact that Rick kind of had an idea, I mean, I don't know how you have that conversation with the head coach that you think, either he's going to get fired or you're going to get fired. I think Zimmer is just kind of taking the road less traveled by. He wants to stay out of the media. He wants to stay out of kind of in the way, because if you do want a chance to get another big time job, if you do want a chance to be, as some people would call it, an analyst or a defensive executive, where you're sitting up in the booth and you're helping coaches from that standpoint, still making a decent amount of money, but you're like a senior advisor. When you look at the coach for the Buccaneers, Tom Moore, who was, my dad's coach with the Steelers, or not my dad's coach, but coach for the Steelers, but he was also with Indianapolis with Tony Dungy. He's every bit of 80 something, and now when you think about Zim, he's not that old. And so if Zim wants that kind of role, you kind of have to go back into anonymity. You kind of got to go back into the shadows and say, "Look, I'm not a distraction. I'm not going to talk about Kirk Cousins anymore. I'm not going to talk about being fired by the Vikings. I'm not going to talk about, X, Y, and Z, Stephon Diggs, whatever you want, your hot take. I'm not going to give it to you." And I think that's where Zimmer's at. He's a grandpa. He's with his family. He's probably worried about his son's next job as well. And, like, what's his future going to look like? Because we know, like, that's what a parent wants. You want your kids to succeed. So he put his son in a position, to be a coordinator for somebody else or get another big time job. And I think his goal is just to stay out of it. Like, I'm going to stay out of it. I don't want my name out there all the time in these headlines and people tweeting TikToks at me and all this stuff. And that's why I think we haven't heard anything from Zimmer, because he wants an owner to see him as like an asset and not a distraction. You can be an asset or you can be a distraction. And Mike Zimmer does not want to be that. And that's my thought.
Zimmer's restraint has amazed me, because if there's anybody who can kind of emotionally have an outburst, it'd be Mike Zimmer, because Mike Zimmer has very strong opinions about things. That he was at odds with Rick Spielman down the stretch of the season. And the silence to me is deafening, because people have been smearing Mike Zimmer, fear-based organization comments, critical of his regime. You've had these, kind of behind the scenes articles that have been released about the final days of Zimmer. And he hasn't been able to defend himself at all. And he could have gone on a talk show. He could have done an interview with a newspaper reporter. He chose not to do that. Impressive restraint. And I don't know if he goes out looking better or worse for it. But let me ask you this, Ron, before we end this segment. Do you think Mike Zimmer will ever be friendly with the Vikings organization again? Like, when they have reunions of former coaches and players coming back to celebrate big events, you think Mike Zimmer is going to be walking on the field with alumni of the Vikings? Is he ever going to mend things with this organization?
Well, and I'm looking at something now because I really want to find the tweet, but I'm not going to throw the person out there. I'm not going to put somebody's name in this that doesn't need to be in this. It's about Mike Zimmer. This is not, we're not a gossip columnist group. I think over time, so this is the thing about time. Time heals all wounds. That's what people say. I don't know at what point, how much time. I think maybe one day, maybe far, far out, but I'm saying it's less than 10%. When you get fired, it's tough. Think about so many coaches that have gotten fired. Barrett Childress, he doesn't come around the Vikings anymore. Leslie Frazier, I think it was just a different circumstance. So maybe that's why he, people have rumored like, oh, I wish he can come back now, or I wish he could do that. Like, I don't think he has any animosity towards the Vikings because of where his career has gone now. Mm-hmm. But Childress doesn't come back. So no, I don't see Mike Zimmer ever really, like, he didn't bring this town a championship. The only thing that's going to tie him here is going to be the Minneapolis Miracle. And I don't think he wants to revisit that because then the next week we got pummeled in Philly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I think it's less than 10, maybe 5% chance that Zimmer ever gets friendly. I mean, I think it'll be a cordial, like, hey, how's it going? If they ever run into each other, but is he sending them any greeting cards or Christmas cards? No. Like, Zimmer's going to be on his ranch. He has a lot of money. He's going to live comfortably. He's going to take care of his family and his grandkids and his girlfriend and all the stuff he's going to do. Like, Mike Zimmer's going to be just fine, and the Vikings will too. That's the one thing. I don't know who said it. I was just watching something, but they were talking about Herm Edwards, and he was talking about the Shield, the NFL, the Shield, the brotherhood, and this was just me and Herm shooting it. And he was saying, you know what, a lot of people worry about, and of course, I coached for Indy, so it was an Indy reference he used, but he's like, man, remember when Peyton Manning retired and everybody thought, the sky is falling for Indy. Peyton Manning retired left and went to Denver, and, the sky was falling. The sky didn't fall. They got Andrew Luck. They kept moving on. Now they have Matt Ryan. The world continues to move on. People still continue to watch the Colts. Ticket holders still go to the games. It's one of those things. The world for the Vikings is going to go on, and Mike Zimmer's world is going to go on. This is just a microcosm of a bigger picture of the whole world. You leave jobs all the time. You're just under a microscope in the NFL, and that's why. But that'll do it for segment 1 of the Ron Johnson Show. We want to thank all of our podcast listeners who have subscribed, and we want to thank those that continue to watch us on YouTube and just devour the content. We truly thank you.